everyone, back to more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. Not much to really rant or think about in the international break. Bit boring, isn't it, really, watching pointless international friendlies and in nations leagues or whatever nonsense is there. England not even playing with a centre forward. That's how serious they take that situation. But there was a little something that did flick my switch, and surprise, surprise, it came courtesy of the Premier League. Now, there was a piece that came out in the Daily Mail all about the fallout of Manchester City's victory in the court case regarding the APT rulings, the kind of internal dealings between connected businesses and clubs and everything else that Manchester City showed the Premier League up for. Really, the Premier League have tried to spin it in a positive way, make it sound like it's a great thing and they welcome it and all this sort of stuff. But this piece is very interesting and it kind of winds you up a little bit, and it all points the finger at Richard Masters and his band of merry bastards behind the scenes who, let's be honest, only came up with this bullshit ruling to really stop Newcastle United from becoming this huge force in English football when the PIF money came in to the football club. And they knew it, the teams were scared about it. Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, all these other teams got together, Spurs, and they thought, oh shit, Newcastle could go and spend God knows how much money on the transfer market and take all of our targets and buy all of our players. And oh my God, we've had this happen before with Chelsea and City. Can't have it happen again. So the Premier League came up with this bullshit rule, and little did they realise that it would also halt the progress of the monster that is Manchester City, that has gone from being Manchester City, the laughingstock in Manchester, to a global force in football with the best players and arguably the best manager of all time at the football club. So Manchester City took them on, won the case. The Premier League had to go off and lick their wounds. And it's quite interesting when you read this piece, and it just shows the Premier League for the absolute bunch of shithouse weasels that they are, that when this first came to light, they sent an email out to all of the clubs and said that they would have swift, prompt action to rectify this problem. And that made Manchester City come back and basically say they would proceed with further legal kind of action against the Premier League if they did not retract that statement. They had to retract that statement. And now Richard Masters has come out and said basically that there'll be no quick fix to solve this, but he reassured the rest of the clubs involved that they are going to try to figure out a way to get around this. And it absolutely stinks of shit, doesn't it? I mean, in what world can you tell all the other companies out there, hey, don't worry about it, we're going to stop that company from spending the copious amounts of money that they have from their very wealthy investors to make themselves a very successful company. We're going to protect you lot, we're going to stop them doing that. It's fucking crazy. It just shows you what the Premier League is. It's an absolute sycophantic, 5 or 6 club-led organisation with executive bathroom keys and everything else. It fucking stinks. Even that shithouse Sir Jim Radcliffe almost outed them, didn't he, in public, because he can't keep his lips zipped, and said, his understanding was there was a rule that the Premier League was there to protect the top 6 clubs, as in Manchester United, Arsenal, Spurs, those kind of teams as well. I mean, I don't even know if they look at City as one of them teams. I mean, City is a top 6 team, there's no doubt about it. It's a top 1 or 2 team, and it's, from a marketable point of view, the players that they have, the managers that they have and everything else brings in revenue to the Premier League, but they still see City. I think the people who sit in the corridors of power in the Premier League are all, Manchester United, Liverpool fans, from probably years gone by, and they don't want Manchester City to probably continue on with their progress. They'd probably be really happy if Sheikh Mansour sold and fucked off and Manchester City went back to being the whipping boys, but it's not going to happen ever again. And Newcastle United aren't going to do that either. The PIF have already reiterated their desire to be number one, to push. And the Premier League are going to come up with a completely different set of rules, clearly, to try and prevent the growth and the progress of Newcastle United. But Masters has come out and told the rest of the Premier League that there will be no quick fix for that, because he's been shown up to be an absolute fucking mug. They've came up with these rules and they've totally underestimated the wealth and the resource at the fingertips of clubs that are owned by these ridiculously wealthy individuals who surround themselves with the best legal people that they can get. Manchester City just saw right through this. Leicester City did the same thing. Leicester City, although they won the Premier League not too long ago, and that's a fucking amazing achievement for them. They're not Manchester City, but they were able to get themselves good legal representation. I'm sure Nick DeMarco was involved in that as well, to be fair, who's a very slick lawyer. And he was able to see through the bullshit rulings that the Premier League have put in. So I've heard people call for Masters to resign. Now, if the Premier League don't want to be made to look like an absolute laughingstock, maybe you should bin this guy off, because he clearly doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And he's got the glove of Manchester United, Liverpool and Arsenal up his arse, steering him left and right like fucking Sooty and Sweep as to what to do next. And from in terms of a legality standpoint, he hasn't got a leg to stand on. And Manchester City have shown it, Leicester have shown it, and I think this will encourage all the other clubs who have been wronged by the Premier League and the bullshit rulings to take legal action against the Premier League. And I welcome it. I hope that Everton do it. I hope that Forest do it. I really do. I hope that we do it. You know, we've had to sell 2 talented young players in the shape of Yankuba Minter and Elliot Anderson to balance the books, where you've got teams like Arsenal who haven't declared their owner loans, you know, which slipped through the net. And if they did, and even, you know, Brighton as well and Brentford, if they did declare those loans, they'd have been fucked and they'd have breached PSR. But Newcastle had to go in a fire sale and sell 2 exciting young players who probably would have been part of the first team picture this season just to balance the books, and it stinks of shit. I'm so glad that Manchester City have outed these wankers for just being a complete bunch of amateurs. But I'm scared to think what they're going to go in and come up with next. But there's emails that have already gone out by Masters and his merry band of bastards to the other teams, you know, to assure them that they are working hard to try and think of a resolution to solve this problem. And it just restricts competition. It really does, because, you know, Newcastle have got wealthy owners, Villa have got wealthy owners, Everton are probably in the throes of maybe getting wealthy owners. You know, the clubs out there, you know, can be bought by wealthy individuals, consortiums, states, whatever you want to do. And surely more teams that can afford to spend on quality players encourages competition, thus making the Premier League a more enticing, attractive product. Because what's the point of having just 3 teams that can compete for the title and maybe 2 teams that can win it year on, year out? People take the piss out of the SPFL for that, for Rangers and Celtic, and the Premier League has become exactly like that over the last 15, 20 years, all because of the protection around the cartel, the greedy 6 clubs. And that is eroding away now, because the Premier League's credibility is eroding away while this complete nugget is behind the scenes running things. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get pushed out, to be honest with you. But if the Premier League are so blinded by arrogance that they think they can go away and come up with another set of bullshit rules that aren't vetted and audited and checked right to the you know, the kind of the crossing the T's and dotting the I's of the legal or legal standpoint, so kind of legal validity, so to speak, then other teams are going to do exactly the same thing as City and Leicester have done. They're going to shoot holes through the bullshit rules that come up, and nobody's going to take them seriously whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to see what they come back with. But I really hope that Newcastle make hay while the sun shines, because these fuckers are off licking their wounds. They've got nothing to put in place to stop you doing that now. So I hope Newcastle United do as many deals, as many APT deals as they can do with all of the partners that they can do. Sponsor the training ground, sponsor the fucking stadium seats, sponsor the kiosk stores, sponsor the fucking urinals for all I care. Take a piss in an Aramco piss pot that you're going to get 20 grand a year from just for one urinal. Do it, Newcastle. Do it. Take the piss. Squeeze as much out of this as you possibly can before these bastards come up with another way to lock the door and stop you from getting in there. And I really hope that Newcastle put that to good use in the transfer window and get some good players. But let us know in the comments below what you guys think about the Premier League's latest bullshit. The fact that they've been outed as a complete bunch of amateurs by really slick legal representation. What are you worried about they're going to go away and come up with next? Do you think it's going to prohibit Newcastle United's growth? You hope the club takes advantage of this, and how quickly will the club move in this window of opportunity? We always like to hear from you. Drop a comment in, like and subscribe if you like this kind of thing, guys. Have a belter. We'll be back with some more content soon. See you later.